If you are new to the channel, then subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further notification. Okay student, welcome you all to this new lecture in machine. So today again we will be solving 5 questions starting from question number 21 to question number 25. Okay, then let's solve all these questions. Okay, in question number 21, a DC series motor driving an electric train faces a constant power load. Okay, the power is constant. It is running at rated speed and rated voltage. If the speed has to be brought down to 0.25 per unit, the supply voltage has to be approximately brought down to. So it is constant power. Power is here. What is the power? It is mechanical power, which is equal to electric power. So both of these are constant. So if this is constant, that means your T1 by omega 1, T2 by omega 2, that should be equal to 1. Constant. Product should be same. T1 omega 1, the first case power, the second case power, they should be same. Similarly here, AB1 into IO1, the first case power should be equal to same as second case power. Now because it is a DC series motor, you know T1 by T2 will be equal to directly proportional to, T is proportional to phi into IA, but in series phi is also proportional to IA. So T is proportional to IA square for a series motor. So it is IA1 by IA2 whole square. So you can put it there. You need to find the EMF, that is a voltage, that supply voltage. So back EMF you can take it approximately equal to V. So whatever is the EB1, EB2, that you can consider as nearly equal to V1, V2. That is approximation. So this approximation they are only asking. So you can approximate this. So you can find I1, I2 from here. The speed is 0.25 per unit. So now if it is omega 1, so it will be 0.25 omega 1. So omega 1 get cancelled. So IA1 by IA2 will be equal to under root of 0.25 by 1, that is 0.5 I1 by I2 under root if you take. Now if you put this one here, so your EB1 by EB2 will be equal to IA2 by IA1, therefore your EB2 is equal to 0.5 of EB1. That means your supply voltage should be equal to 50% of the previous one. That means it should be 0.5 per unit. You can say that means option B. So in 22, the following are the some properties of rotating electric machine. Stator is DC, rotor is AC. Okay, rotor winding current is AC. So stator is DC. So obviously it is a DC machine if the stator is DC. And in DC machine, you know that actual current is in AC. Then you use some commutator to take this out to make it DC. But the current produced is always AC. You need some special arrangement to take out this unidirectional. That's why we use that commutator segment. To make that AC unidirectional, you take DC out of it. So it is DC, then rotor is also AC. You take it as a DC by using commutator, but actual current is AC. So you can say P is obviously connected will be with your DC machine. So it is either A or C. Then in Q, stator is AC and the rotor is DC. Which machine? Synchronous machine. Your stator is the synchronous machine, the field is rotating. So you make the field by giving DC supply. So it becomes a magnet, and your output is you take stator, that is your generator. Synchronous machine, that means generator. You can think of alternator. You take current from your stator windings. That is our hydrothermal power plants. All these. So these are synchronous machines. So Q is obviously synchronous machine. So obviously you can now eliminate these also. So obviously option A is the answer. By seeing only this much only you can give the answer as A. Still you can confirm it. Now next one, stator is AC, rotor is all both AC. That is your induction machine. Stator you give AC also, motor, induction motor you think you give AC supply. In the rotor also it is AC supply. Both are 3-phase winding only. So that's why the supply is AC. That is R. Okay. Now stator has salient poles and rotor had commutators. So obviously in DC machine you have salient pole stators, that's the magnets. Field is stationary here and the armature is rotating. In the armature you use commutator to take the current, make it unidirectional. So that's why S is with DC machine, you can see, and T, rotor has salient poles. Okay, because in a synchronous machine the rotor is the magnet. So magnet will be have salient poles and slip rings and stators. Rotor is salient poles and slip rings, and you use slip rings in the rotor to give DC supply because it is rotating. So you give supply, you need some arrangement so that the wire doesn't get jumbled because it is rotating. If you don't give slip ring, then the wire will jumble and it will snap. So that the wire doesn't get jumbled to each other. So that's why you use slip rings. And stator is cylindrical. Okay. So this is with synchronous machine. Both stator and rotor have polyphase winding. That is in induction machine. So that is option A. Now if you come to question number 23, The armature resistance of a permanent magnet DC motor is this much. At no load the motor draws this much ampere from a supply voltage of this. Okay, if it is taking this much ampere for no load, so you can find the no load losses and answer that the efficiency of the motor while it is operating at this much on load at 1500 rpm, drawing a current of 3.5 from the same source. So you can calculate your no load losses because your no load everything is given. So what is the power that is consumed in no load? It is 25 into 1.5, that is 37.5 watt. This is the losses actually. In this loss you have copper loss and iron loss. So what is your copper loss? That is variable loss, that is I square R, 1.5 square into R is 0.8, so that is 1.8 watt. So obviously the rest one will be the constant loss, that is iron loss, which will be fixed. So 35.7, this is your constant loss or iron loss. This will be fixed for any load. This will change according to loading condition. Now in the second case, the power you are drawing, that is input power is 3.5 for the same source, that is source voltage is 25 volts. So now you are taking 25 into 3.5, this is your input, that is 87.5 watt. What is your losses? Losses is 35.7. These will come, and then with the variable loss because you are taking now 3.5, so it will be 3.5 square into RA is 0.8. So this much loss you are consuming, that is 35.7 plus this one, if you do it will be 9.8. So your output will be equal to input minus losses, so 87.5 minus this, that is your 42. So efficiency is output by input 42 by 87.5 into 100, so that is 48%. That is your option A. A 8-pole DC generator has a simplex wave wound armature containing 32 coils, 6 turns. The flux per pole is this much. Machine is running and this much. The induced armature voltage. So E is equal to phi Z and P by 60A. So you can put all these value. What is phi? Phi is 0.06. What is Z? Z is number of conductors. So if you take one turn, this is one turn. This is known as one turn. If one turn, it is taking one complete. This is known as one turn. One turn means how many conductor? First conductor, second. These are two conductors. One turn means two conductors. There are two side conductors, and this is to join this conductor. So these are not actually considered as conductor. Conductor is this and this, and this is just to join. This is just the suppose this is my these are the two conductors, and they take a single turn. So this is the turn they are taking. From here it is going and then it is coming. So this is one turn, and at the end to join this one, these are jointing wires. So these are not actually conductors. So conductors are these two. If coil is going like this, suppose this is my motor, so this is, suppose my cylinder is this is the cylinder, this is my armature. So I am sending one conductor, then it is coming. So this is one turn. So one turn means two conductors in a single turn. So how many turns are there? 32 coil, 6 turn. Each coil taking 6 turn. This is one turn. Similarly, one coil if you take, that they are taking 6 turns. So total turn is this. And each turn has two conductors. The total conductor is this. So this is coil into turn, total turn into 2, that is total conductor. Phi Z, then N is 250 in RPM. Obviously N should be always in RPM. You have to be careful, they may change it to RPS also. You have to then convert it into RPM. P is 8 pole, 60. A is your winding. What type of winding? Wave. Wave means 2. So if you do this one, it is 384, that is your option C. Now if you come to 25, two magnetic poles revolve around a stationary armature carrying this much. These are the coils C1, C2 as shown. Consider the instant when the poles are in the position as shown. Identify the correct statement regarding the polarity of the induced EMF at the instant coil side C1 and C2. Now if you see C2, this is your magnetic field from north to south it is going. C2 is just at 90 degree. So actually it is the how the EMF induced. This is the flux cut per unit rate of change of flux linkage. So if your magnetic field is like this and you are at 90 degree, this much. So you can see all the flux are cutting here, but it is the rate of change of flux link. Means if you change your position, suppose this is coil, this is my magnetic field, this is magnetic field. So this is my coil. Suppose we always think that coil is moving, but here it is different. We will think that later. So it is coming at 90 degrees. So if you change your position to the coil, suppose this is coil. So you think that all the arrows are coming from here this side and it is hitting you. So maximum hitting, but you think the rate of change, not how many arrows are hitting you, it is the rate of change. If you change your position, what is the change in arrow hitting you? What is the line that are cutting you, how they are changing? So here all four fingers are cutting. So if you change it a little bit, still all four fingers are cutting. So there is no such change. So the rate of change is negligible here. So that's why EMF induced is 0 in this case, if it is at 90 degree. Now if you think, suppose if you are lying like this, so how many flux are cutting now? 0. You are escaping it because all the flux are going like, you are 0. Now you change it little bit. If you change it little bit, then all the flux will come. You can feel that you are lying like this, all the flux was going ups and down. Now if you change it a little bit, just a little bit, then there will be arrows that will hit you. So there is a rate of change now, because it was 0, now the some arrows are hitting. Earlier it was 0, now all these arrows will hit if you proceed. So the maximum change is maximum in this case. So maximum EMF induced in this case. In this case the EMF induced is 0, because it is not how many arrows are cutting, it is the rate of change of arrow. If you change your position, then how much change is there in the arrow hitting. Okay. So here C2 will be obviously 0, no EMF in C2. That means you can see it is option A or B. Now either it is dot or this, that you have to see. Now what is the magnetic field? Because it is generator, so generator is always right hand, motor is always left hand. Fleming was having two hands, like all we people who have two hands. So Fleming also has two hands, right hand, left hand. So he kept right hand on the generator, so it becomes right hand rule for generator. He kept his left hand on motor, that's why it is left hand rule for motor. So generator it is right hand. You can think out also, I am writing with right hand, that is I am generating something, so that's why it is right hand. So you can remember in this way. And this is the magnetic field. We always say let's go there, let's go to the field. So that's why it is field. So you always remember, let's go to that field, let's go there, let's go there. That means field. Going means you can think that you are going for playing, that is field. And this is the force, because we apply, suppose those who don't know how to sign in earlier days, they used to give thumb impression. So this is the force, you can think. So these two are fixed, then obviously this will be direction of EMF or induced EMF or current. Okay, so this is always fixed, you can think this is field. Okay, so field is from north to south. Okay, now what is the force? Force, it is moving in this way or this way. Generally what we think, we keep this fixed and we rotate the coil. So here magnetic field is rotating. So if magnetic field is rotating in this, like suppose if I fix this one, then how does it will look like? It will look like that the coil is rotating in reverse direction, in this direction. So if I used to this same phenomena, suppose what is north has to come to C2. So if I fix this 2, that means what will happen now? After some time N will come in C2. But if I want to fix this magnetic field and I want to rotate the coil, then C2 has to rotate in this way, because then only after some time C2 will come to north, because that is the idea, that's what was happening. Now what I am doing, I am changing, I am keeping this fixed, I am rotating the winding. So you always think that force is applied on the winding, not on the magnetic field. So force is on the winding. So this is this much, so force is this in this direction here, because it is moving upward. So your current is coming out of the paper. So if it is coming out of this paper, then it is dot. Cross means it is already entered. This is the symbol of arrow. This is the symbol of arrow. This is the back side of it, this is the front side. If it is front side you are seeing, that means it is coming. If you see in back side, that means it is already entered. So it is coming out of, that's why it is dot. So that's why it is option A. If you like the video, then press the like button and please give your valuable comments in the comment section.